And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the XL Sports Network College Football Drive at 5. I am joined today in studio with my man Will Nobles, and on the boards we got Ken, coming to you live from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkesville. Brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkesville, where every Sunday is Thanksgiving. Reminder, have the buffet every day. Great lunch buffet, great dinner. If you guys have something coming up during the holidays, they can either cater for you, or you can do some parties, Thanksgiving or Christmas parties, or whatever you want at the restaurant. Just go down and talk to Lewis and the gang, and they'll get you all set up. Again, we just want to thank you for joining us. If you're listening to us on the YouTube website, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, put some comments in. You can also listen to us live on the xlsportsnetwork.net. Click listen live on that. And what a weekend. Man, great games all over the country this past weekend, Will. We were just talking about on the way over here. What do you want to start with?
Naturally, I want to start with Georgia, but I think we should save that a few minutes. We'll just jump right into Kentucky, Florida. I think that was a good game for Kentucky. I don't have a whole lot of commentary on that one besides Florida stinks and Kentucky stomped them. Kind of like how I thought they would and how I hoped they would. I love your wonderful stat on Graham Mertz, and he did a good job keeping up that completion percentage.
25 for 30.
Yep. My response to that is, who cares? They lost by, it felt like 1,000. That game did not feel as close as the score says it was.
That's funny you say that, because that's exactly what I was thinking when I was taking notes. I was like, that's a 19-point lead, but it just felt to me like that Kentucky just absolutely crushed Florida.
Yeah.
And so the score is not indicative of how really lopsided that contest was, but go ahead.
I think a lot of it has to do with how well Kentucky ran the ball, and that's just a physical domination and physically overwhelming them, and I think that's why the score didn't feel like it represent how much they dominated that game.
They shortened the game by doing that too.
Oh, for sure. And I think obviously everyone knows the story of the game was Ray Davis. Had a career day. I went back and looked at his stats. He played at Temple and Vanderbilt before, never had a game approaching this one. And he's had a good season so far this year. Nothing near as good as that game against Florida, but he looked good. Like I said, Kentucky beat him to death, and I'm glad they did. Never going to root for Florida to win.
I'm telling you, man, they could be playing against Satan. I think I'd pull for Satan. I'm telling you. Kirby was asked. I was listening to one of his interviews. I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, and somebody had talked about Ray Davis, and they said, when he was in the portal, he was interested in coming to Georgia. And Kirby's like, I didn't know that. No one contacted me. Ray Davis didn't contact me, and we didn't know anything about that. But you go back and you think about that during that time in the portal. They, Andrew Paul was coming off a knee injury, but they were expecting him to be ready. At least 3 or 4 weeks into the season, they were expecting him to be ready. At that point, Branson Robinson was still healthy, and
Absolutely.
He was. I'm telling you, healthy Branson Robinson, I would take him over anybody. Then you got Dejon Edwards. I think that they looked at that roster and they said, we got what we need, and I don't think they were even thinking about the portal. You can't foresee, guys getting hurt in fall camp. You can't foresee that. So I don't think it's fair to go back and say, hey, why didn't you try to pick up Ray Davis? Now, of course, hindsight being 2020, you would love to have taken that guy the way he's playing right now, but I just don't think that's a fair question for somebody to ask, Kirby. But man, the guy did great. I think he's a great running back. I think he's put himself out there where he probably made himself a lot of money this past weekend.
It's possible.
Yeah, I think there's people looking at him going, wow, man, this guy's good. A couple things that jumped out at me on that game was Florida. They gave up 329 yards rushing during that game. That's an SEC defense. It's supposed to be able to stop the run, and they didn't do a very good job of doing that.
If I'm not mistaken, Ray Davis had 100 yards rushing in the first quarter by himself.
He had 280 yards on the day, and he didn't even play halfway through the fourth quarter. He didn't even go. I think 8 minutes left to go in the game. He didn't even play.
Yeah.
So, and they had another kid that run. And I remember, I can't remember the name, but another kid after Ray Davis came out had a long man. He had a couple long rushes. So that offensive line they're physical on the line of scrimmage anyway, both sides of the ball. You know, you ask. I remember Coach Rick talking about it when he was at Georgia. You know, that they are always physical. They're always physical.
Oh yeah.
And Kirby talks about it every year. You know, I think that one of the games that the kids really do not look forward to playing because of the physicality is against Kentucky, and that just goes back to their coach. You know, Mark Stoops is a great coach. I mean, you put Mark Stoops in any other program out there, you put him in these top tier programs out there, man. I'm telling you, he's probably going to win a national championship. You know, I mean, I think he's a really good coach. Hard nosed. He comes out of that, you know, Youngstown, Ohio. You know, all those Stoop guys come out there, and apparently that's like a breeding grounds for coaches. I don't know what it is, but you know, they do a great job of you know, developing coaches up there for some reason. Another stat that comes out is Florida had 10 penalties. You know, when you start getting 10 penalties in the game, you know, and I know playing at Kroger Field is kind of tough, but man, it ain't like you're playing in the big house. You know, I mean,
That's true.
Kroger Field, you know, but 10 penalties that's a lot. That's a lot. That tells me, you know, same thing with Alabama last year. You know, we talk about discipline. When you're penalized 10 times in a game or more, you know, there's a problem. You know, and Florida's not playing so well right now. You can't have that many penalties. And like I said, Graham Merckx is 25 of 30. So yeah, his completion percentage.
Good for him.
His completion percentage is up there. But
yeah, 25 for 30 and $2 will buy you a soda at the gas station. So.
Yeah, I think you looked up on the weekend. 25 for 30. He had 25 completion for 244 yards. So I think there was a lot of screen passes, a lot of short passes across the middle. But you know, they weren't very good. They didn't look very good. They looked like they got dominated to me. And you know, I want to say this is 3 in a row for Kentucky over Florida, isn't it?
I want to say yes. I know for sure it's 2.
Yeah, I think it's 3 in a row that they beat them, and I'll look that up here in a second. But it's very interesting that Kentucky's having this much success against Florida over the last.
I love it.
Decade. I love it too.
I love it.
I mean, I would love for everybody to have success. You got anything else you want to talk about?
Not on that one. That's it. That's all I got on there.
All blue is just ugly, man. It's ugly. Blue and white is definitely better than blue and orange. Any shade of blue and orange, I just can't stand. So, what you got next?
I want to go back to the Oregon State-Utah game. I meant to start with this one, but I overlooked it. Man, Utah's defense is still playing well. Lord help them. If they ever get anything that resembles offense this year, they're going to be a force. Like I said, the defense looks good. They're only giving up 12 points a game. They are the nation's best third down defense, only giving up 21%. But you know as well as I do, when you're playing defense, it's impossible to hold up if you have to go out there down after down after down, and offense just keeps punting the ball back, and you don't get any sort of reprieve. And that's what's been happening. I don't know what that problem is, and I don't know what the answer is for Utah, but their offense can't do anything. They're averaging less than 300 yards a game and only 19 points. That ain't going to win you very many football games. And I think Oregon State, I got to give them credit too. They're a very good football team, very well coached football team. I think they responded well after that loss to Washington State. I think they played well on both sides of the ball. Again, they have a great team and a great coach in Jonathan Smith. And I think they're a sneaky team that's been flying under the radar for most people.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what we talked about a minute ago, yes, there's 3 in a row. I just looked it up. 21, 22, and 23 is
love it.
Yeah, 3 in a row for Kentucky. Going forward, Utah. Yeah, my notes on this game. 21-7 was the final score. Oregon State beat Utah. No Cam Rising, and Utah had less than 200 yards total offense. Less than 200 yards of total offense. You know, Cam Rising, he is. First of all, he's a dual threat. He's one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the nation when he's healthy. He changes. I think he comes back, and that entire program changes.
Well, it's not just Cam Rising. They're dealing with a whole lot of injuries on both sides of the ball, too.
Yeah.
But I think he is the biggest loss that they have right now, for sure.
There's no doubt. Again, folks, thanks for joining us on the College Football Drive at 5. We're going to continue here in a minute, but I just wanted to do a shout out to the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkersville. Sunday is always Thanksgiving, and took my wife and my mother-in-law there a couple weeks ago on Sunday after church, and man, it is just incredible. I had to really be careful, and I only have one plate, man. I'm telling you that. And Lewis was sitting there looking at me like, all right, now you gonna eat it all up? I mean, I put a lot on that plate, but man, I could not go back because I knew that if I did, I was just gonna be hurting later on. But man, turkey dressing, man, the fried chicken there is just incredible. We need to go after the show one day, stop and have dinner there. We'll do that.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, we'll do that one of these days. But come see them. Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkersville. It's on the 341 bypass. And just tell them that you heard about this on the Drive at 5, and let them know so that they'll know that we are shouting out for them. What you got next, Will?
I'll jump ahead to Texas, Kansas. This game was over before it started when I found out Jalen Daniels wasn't playing. But even if he was playing, man, the way that Texas team showed up, I don't think it would have mattered. And I know last week I said how much I loved Kansas and how good they looked, but good gracious, Texas, man, they just look good. They look good. I think it was a dominant win. There were times where the game still looked like it was pretty close and in the balance, but I don't believe it was ever in doubt. You know, Quinn Ewers looked great. I mean, even running the ball, he looked great. Jonathan Brooks, man, cannot say enough about him. That running back, they found him another one. I don't know if he's Bijan level, but he is good.
Yeah.
He looked phenomenal. Worthy and Mitchell, I mean, they're lighting it up on the outside. And that defense, man, it's wild saying from my own mouth that Texas has a really good defense. I mean, just beyond points given up and everything, Kansas went 0 for 8 on third down. You're not winning a single game going 0 for 8. And the 2 touchdowns they scored, one of them was a busted coverage. The other one, their quarterback fumbled the football into the running back's hands, and he ran in for a touchdown. So two kind of blown freak busted plays that gave Kansas their 2 touchdowns. But just the long and short of it is Texas was better, and they played like it.
Well, Kansas, I know they were without the quarterback. Kansas came in undefeated, and we talked about this right before we came on the air. You know, if and we may do this one day. We may start our top 10. I don't know. We're going to talk about that, but we may start our top 10. But if somebody were to ask me right now, what is your top? Give me your top 3 teams in the country right now. And you know, we are Georgia homers. You know, you guys, we're not gonna sugarcoat that. We are. But right now, if I had to give you my top 3, I think it starts with Texas. I think Texas is the most complete team in the country right now. At least they're playing that way. Quinn Ewers was 25-35 for 325 and a touchdown. He did have an interception. I didn't see the game, so I don't know if that was a deflected pass or not. But he also had a real long rushing touchdown. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I saw that interception. That was just a great play by the defense.
Okay.
It's he could have made a better read, but that was an athletic play by the linebacker there. That was a great play by Kansas defense to get that interception they had.
And you talk about Brooks, running back. Yeah, 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know, we talked about that before the season started. You know, how is that running attack going to be without Bijan in there? And
answer just fine.
Yeah, and that's what I said. I don't know if you remember me. You guys can go back and listen earlier shows. I'll tell you that I'd had no problem with that. And the reason why is because that offensive line has matured. You know, they got those 2 tackles that were true freshmen last year. That have gotten a year under their belt, and that's just huge. That line is in, you know, it's just going to keep getting better. Hey, I want somebody just walked into the studio, my man, Bruce Mims. Love my man, Bruce. Bruce, thanks for coming by, man. Come by and check in on us.
I wanted to make sure y'all were able to get in.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I was afraid that the boss may have changed the locks on us.
Uh-oh. We got to be careful with that now. If you change the locks on us, that ain't good.
New format for the quarterback starting this weekend. 8-minute interviews.
8-minute interviews, okay.
Yeah.
So you guys join us on Saturday mornings. We have the you got the Saturday morning quarterback brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkersville. Saturday morning quarterback, 3 hours, the fastest 3 hours on football. We interview 16 coaches every Saturday. We were doing about 6 minutes per coach. Now we're going to change it to 8 minutes per coach.
Yes.
We just have a great time. There's coaches all around the state, and I tell you, I really enjoy it. As a former coach myself, sometimes I get to interview guys that I coach with. Sometimes I get to interview guys I play ball with, and then there's a lot of guys that I've never ever had a chance to talk to or listen to, and it's really cool when you get to hear these guys talk about their teams. And Bruce does a phenomenal job of setting it up and running those interviews. So it's 9 to 12 Saturday. Every Saturday you can listen to us on the live on the XLSportsNetwork.net, and you can also check us out on YouTube. And that's the Saturday morning quarterback. Saturday morning quarterback show. I'll get it right in a minute. Anyway, so going back to the Texas Kansas game yet. I think that, like I said, Texas, I think, is the best team in the country right now. They're playing the best.
You could make an argument.
Yeah, and I think that probably, just to complete what I was saying a minute ago, if number 2 right now would have to be Michigan. And we'll talk about this in a minute, but I think Michigan's playing. Not only is that offense clicking, I think that defense is just lights out right now. Now we've got to wait to see who. They got a couple of big games coming up: Penn State and Ohio State, and even Maryland now to play them too. So. We'll see what happens. It's all gonna come out. We're gonna find out in October. First few weeks in November, we're gonna find out who's who in these conference championship races. So anyway, next let's talk about USC and Colorado next.
Let's do it.
Caleb Williams. Guys. He's on a short list of being the best quarterbacks in the country. Reigning Heisman Trophy winner. You're probably not going to get a whole lot of disagreement from many people when they say that he's the best player in the nation. I think that Michael Penix and Cam Ward are doing a great job up there in their schools and in that upper northwest there, Washington State. They're also amazing, and you could probably make a case for each one of them being the best quarterback in the nation. But
I think the 5 best quarterbacks in the nation are all in the Pac-12.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right.
Maybe more than that.
I'm telling you, this is just a bad year for the whole thing to fall apart out there.
I hate it.
I do too. But you know what? Going forward, those programs aren't going away. They're just moving to a different conference, and we're going to have more exciting conferences. I think I think the Big 12 just got really good. I think the Big 10 got really good. And who knows where this whole thing is going to end up. So I think there's going to be some more changes coming down the pipe. But anyway, Caleb Williams, 30 for 40, 403 yards, 6 touchdowns and an interception. And you know what? The guy across the field from Shooter Sanders, 30 for 45, 371 and 4 touchdowns and an interception. Here's a stat, and you and I were just talking about this right before we come on the air. And USC defense gave up 564 yards. 564. They gave up 193 yards rushing to Colorado. Colorado has no offensive line. How do you give up almost 200 yards rushing against a Colorado offensive line? I don't understand that. This USC defense was supposed to be an upgrade this year from last year. Second year defensive coordinator, and they brought in some talent. They brought in one from Georgia, Big Bear Alexander. But he can't do it by himself. So 48-41. And here's the thing about that game, and one thing about Colorado that I saw, they were down by 4 or 5 touchdowns at one time, something like that.
I think the highest they got to was 4.
Yeah, down by 28, and came back
27, but
27, 28, whatever.
close
Yeah.
enough.
But they came back. That's right, because they had to go for it too. Yeah. But they came back and made it 48-41. They were onside a kick away from having a possession to go down and tie or win that game.
I will say it right now. If they recover that onside kick, they're winning that football game.
Yeah,
I'm putting money on number 2, Shedeur Sanders. I think he's 2. I'm putting money on them to win that football game.
I was thinking if they recover that, they'll go down and score. Primetime ain't going to go for the extra point. He's not kick that extra point.
He's going for the win.
He's going for the win,
for sure.
So anyway, that turned out to be a really good game. So, what's your assessment on the USC Colorado game?
It's weird how things work out. After that game, I feel better about the team that lost and worse about the team that won. And it has everything to do with my sort of hopes and expectations coming into the year. I did not expect Colorado to be very good, and I hoped that USC had fixed that defense. Turns out both of those weren't true. I'm not saying Colorado's a 10-win team. I'm not saying they're going to compete for their conference, but a bowl game, that's very possible.
Yeah, it is.
4 weeks ago, I'd have said no way.
Yeah.
I did say no way. I
I
picked
did.
TCU to blow them out.
Yeah.
But I feel really encouraged about how Colorado finished that game. The start was not great, but the finish was awesome. And I'm never one to. We talked about this earlier with Michigan. I'm never one to say, oh yeah, Colorado ran the ball, but USC has a bad defense. I'm giving credit to Colorado. They ran the ball and they ran that thing well.
They really did.
So hats off to them. You know, again, even if you play a bad defense, you still have to take advantage, and they sure did. This is one thing that really impressed me. When they went on that stretch of their kind of comeback, they had Colorado had touchdown drives of 75, 83, 75, 75, and 78 yards. That is insane. First of all, they can do it. Second of all, USC gives that up. Like I said, Shedeur, nothing but praise for how he played this week. He bounced back after that rough game against Oregon. That was a rough game for that entire team. And again, like I said, that run game took advantage of a real bad USC run defense. I've heard people say it, and I think I said it earlier. If I didn't, I'll say it now. You absolutely, 5 games in, you absolutely have to have Deion in the conversation for Coach of the Year.
No doubt.
Absolutely.
No doubt.
I mean, like we said, for him to do what he's done and to do it so quickly, that team was one possession away from potentially beating USC.
Yeah.
That is a team that people thought was going to win the conference. People were going to
Maybe
make the
win that
playoffs.
championship. A lot of people said they would win that championship.
They were 7 points away from winning that football
Yeah,
game.
exactly.
Um,
A Colorado team that won one game last year.
And like I told you, if they recover that onside kick, I have no doubt they're scoring and winning that game. And like I said, just USC's defense is so bad. They were up. This is astounding. They were up 48-21. That's those 4 touchdowns we're talking about.
Yeah.
48-21 with 2 minutes and 14 seconds left in the third quarter.
Yeah.
17 minutes of game time left. They scored nothing, and Colorado almost came back and won that game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the Lincoln Riley defense is just starting to take shape, right on track. Their offense is great. Their defense is terrible.
Yeah.
That we thought that defense may have been fixed. Definitely not. I don't know that I'll say it. Alex Grinch is not a good defensive coordinator. I think he's too loyal to him. I think he needs to bring somebody in who does a good job. And here's the question I have for you. So last week they were missing Travis Hunter. This week they were missing Travis Hunter. Obviously, he's not worth the 37 points they would have needed to beat Oregon. Is Travis Hunter worth 7 points against USC?
I think so. Maybe more. Maybe more. You're right.
If Travis Hunter played that game on Saturday, they may have knocked off USC.
They could have.
And I feel like I said, I feel like he's worth 7 points against USC, especially that terrible defense and the plus side that he brings to that defense. I mean, you're not slowing down or really stopping USC throwing the ball. I mean, Caleb Williams is that good. Zachariah Branch is that good. The guys he's throwing to are just that good. But like I said, I think Travis Hunter's worth 7 points.
Yeah.
I think if he plays that game, they might win it.
A couple things I want to piggyback on. You were talking about the long drives. You know, you go back to Colorado State.
Yeah.
That last drive.
Yeah.
Was 97-yard drive, that last drive. And I think they took the ball over with like 2:08 left to go in the game.
Something like that.
And they scored with about a minute left to go. So in a minute, and it wasn't a long, it was just a drive down the field. I mean, quick, boom, 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 boom. And Shedeur Sanders just drove those guys down the field. They've got a legitimate attack on offense right there.
Oh, for sure.
I think they get better play on the offensive line and keep him. I mean, the guy's been sacked 100,000 times for 1,000,000 yards. You just cut that in half, and you're talking about something coming up. Go ahead.
Mentioned it last week. Deion said, "You better get him now."
Yeah.
The more they play, the more I'm starting to believe him, man.
Yeah. Coming up on their schedule, they got Arizona State, very winnable.
Very winnable.
They got they're at Arizona State, so but still, I think that's very winnable. At home against Stanford, very winnable.
Should win that one.
UCLA, they play.
UCLA
at
has a good defense.
They do. They do have a good defense. That's going to be kind of tough. Oregon at home. That's going to be tough. Arizona at home. I think that's winnable. Wazoo and then Utah. I think they can beat Utah.
I think that Wazoo game might end up being like this USC game, and it's just going to be whoever scores the most is going to win. And that Utah game, it's going to be interesting. If they have Cam Rising back, if they have something that resembles an offense, I think they'll win that game. But like we said, that defense can't stop everybody all the time.
Could be that he goes 7-5 this year.
Again, 5 weeks ago, I called you crazy. Now I'll be shocked if he does not make a bowl game.
Yeah, 7-5 is what I think that he can go. They can go 7-5. So it's kind of not fair to at halfway through the season say that, but
Well, like I said, he built that team in his image. There's not an ounce of quit in those boys. They were down 4 touchdowns at 2 separate points, and they came back and almost won it.
Yeah.
I've been very impressed by the job Deion's done and the way those players have just bought in and played.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just going to get better, I think.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
All right, I'm going to save this one, the upset of the week. I'm going to save that one for a little bit later.
Okay.
Let's talk about Duke and Notre Dame.
Let's get into it.
So, the stats I have here, Hartman was only 15 for 30 for 222 to have a passing touchdown. I didn't get a chance to see the game because I was elsewhere, but I was watching it on the updates. So, did you get a chance to see it?
I saw most of it. I was on the bus ride back from a rafting trip. I think the best explanation to that is Duke's got a really good defense.
Yeah.
If people don't realize that, they should now. I said it after the Clemson game. You got to give Duke massive credit. They have a fantastic defense, a great defensive-minded head coach. The way they scheme, the way they run blitzes is so creative. That I think a lot of that, like I said, is due to the fantastic defense that Duke plays, because I don't think Sam Hartman played bad. He wasn't lighting it up, but I think he played well enough to win, obviously, because he did.
So, Mike Elko, second year at Duke, how much longer do you think he's got at Duke?
It depends on what job's come available.
Michigan State's coming up.
I wouldn't want that job. I don't want that job.
There's going to be some good openings for him.
This is a fun one. You ready for a fun one?
Yeah, let's go.
If Michigan has a good year, and NFL coaches come calling Harbaugh, you like Mike
payday, I think.
You like Mike Elko going to Michigan? I don't think it's going to happen.
Kansas saying ATM, go out to the ATM.
I don't think it's going to happen at all, but that's a fun one for you. Texas A&M, if Jimbo gets fired, I think Mike Elko in Texas A&M, that would scare me.
That would scare me. The money out there, and that guy. Yeah, that is kind of scary.
As a fan of Georgia in the SEC, Mike Elko coming to Texas A&M would scare the crap out of me. I hope he didn't go to Florida either. Oh boy, Lord help us.
I think Florida's still a year or two away from getting rid of Napier.
But that defense has some pieces. I hate to compliment him, but that defense has some pieces.
Yeah, I think they're at least a year away from. I think they're going to give them at least 3 full years.
They need to, but they're stupid, so they're not going to. They don't give them near enough slack.
No,
but
no.
The Notre Dame Duke, just a great defensive battle. It was very reminiscent of the Notre Dame Ohio State game. It was just 2 great defenses playing it out. Like I said, Sam Hartman wasn't electric, but he stepped up when he needed to, including scrambling for a first down on 4th and 16 in the 4th quarter.
Oh wow!
That was incredible. And then almost immediately after that, Audric Estime, my guy, best running back in the country, tell him I said it. He ran for a 30-yard touchdown, and that's what won the game for him. And at the very end, Duke had a chance to win it, but the Notre Dame defense just stepped up and forced a stop. And I got to give credit to Duke because, like I said, they're one of my teams in our pick'em. Yeah. I love them, man. They played great. They looked good. They stood in there with Notre Dame, who is, I think, a universally recognized top 10 team. Oh, yeah. They stood in there with them and they held their own, man. Their defense played well. They went down 13-0 and they came back and took the lead in the 4th quarter. Riley Leonard got that dog in him. He's for real. I hate that he got hurt.
Especially it's not as bad. They don't think it's going to be as bad as what they initially thought.
Well, that's good. It's a high ankle sprain last time I heard, and they have a bye week this week.
They have a bye week,
which is going to be really good for him because in 2 weeks, I don't know if you know this, in 2 weeks they're playing Florida State.
Exactly.
If he comes back healthy, that might be game day again.
Yeah,
I think it's great that they finally. I think they've had college basketball game day in Durham countless times.
Yeah.
This past week was the first time they had college football game day in Durham, and I love that for Duke.
Well, they talk about Florida State. That rings a bell. There's something about Florida State that Old Chad's not with us today. He had something going on down in Tallahassee, so he couldn't join us today. So if you guys are wondering where the boy is, he's preoccupied today. He had something else going on, and he won't be able to join us on the show, which is unfortunate because we love it when he's here with us. You were talking about the scramble that Sam Hartman had, and this wasn't on our notes, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Did you get to see that scramble that UCF quarterback had against Baylor? Did you see that?
I did not know. Was that John Rice Plumlee, or is he hurt?
I don't think it was John Rice Plumlee.
I think Plumlee's hurt.
Yeah, it was somebody else. No, it wasn't.
I didn't know.
Plumlee.
I did not know. I didn't
It
go
was
to that
4th
game.
and 16, and he took the snap, and you can look it up. He was retreating, got all the way back to the end zone, and threw the ball.
I
down the
did
field.
see that.
Threw the ball down the
Yes.
field.
All of that just for the first down. Yes,
Yeah,
and they almost won the game. Yes, I
Almost,
saw
yeah,
that. I saw
won the
that. Yes, I
game.
did. That was impressive. Oh,
Yeah.
well, it's equal parts great athletic play and equal parts Baylor stinks.
Well, Baylor won the game, so.
Two things are true. Well, Baylor's not good this year. We know that. Again, if they had a healthy Rice Plumlee, they win that football game.
Yeah.
I have no doubt.
I like John Rice Plumlee.
I do.
thought he was good when he was. He was there before Corral, whatever his name was.
Mhm. Matt Corral, yep.
Yeah, Matt Corral.
He
yeah.
actually transferred over to wide receiver, so Matt
he
Corral
did.
could play
Yeah, he
quarterback.
did.
Yep, I remember that.
Yep. And anyway, I thought he was a good player. He's a lot like Stetson Bennett. I think. His play is a lot like Stetson Bennett.
I think Rice Plumlee's a lot faster, but yeah, they're very similar.
I think Stetson's probably a lot more accurate with his passing.
I'll give you that. That's
a
fair.
little trade off there.
That's fair.
All right, so let's talk about South Carolina and Tennessee.
Yeah, I was watching the Duke game, so I didn't get to catch a whole lot of this, but turns out I didn't miss anything. Just looking at it, it's like, oh, Tennessee played well, and part of that is true, but part of it also is South Carolina did not play very well. But again, just looking at the game, Tennessee played better. They looked better. Joe Milton, again, wasn't very good,
No.
but that's fine because he didn't have to be because
Right.
Spencer Rattler was terrible.
Yeah.
That the bar was set so low for Joe Milton to perform better than. It was really bad. I'm not a huge fan of QBR. I think it's kind of a stupid statistic, but I'm pretty sure both of theirs were under 50. I think Milton's was in the 40s and Rattler's was in the 30s. So again, not a very high bar, but one that you could easily kind of step over. The story of the day for me was Tennessee's defense. They had 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 5 passes defended, and 1 interception that went for a touchdown. Tennessee's defense really won that football game for them.
So here's the stats from last year. Last year's stats: Spencer Rattler was 30 for 37, 438 yards, and 6 touchdowns against Tennessee. 6 touchdowns. Hendon Hooker had.
Well, he also went on the game hurt, so.
Yeah, he did. He went. Yeah, you're right. He did. They had 300 and together. They had 355 yards and 4 touchdowns in that game last year. Tennessee did, but Spencer Rattler was insane in that game last year.
Sure was.
What did I say? 438 yards last year. This past weekend,
It was
Spencer
under 200,
Rattler,
I think.
169 yards, no touchdowns, one
One pick.
interception.
Well, he did have a touchdown, but not for his own team, though.
No, yeah,
He threw a touchdown to
He
Tennessee.
threw a pick six. Yeah. So, no doubt in my mind. Now he did have a rushing touchdown too.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind that was a revenge game for Tennessee.
I believe so.
That
Well, and to me, it just goes to show you how different it is playing on the road, especially in bigger conferences.
no doubt.
And yes,
No
I'm talking to you, everyone who's bashing Georgia this past week. It's
Yeah.
tough to win on the road.
And
Like I said,
Jordan Air is one of the hardest places in the nation to play.
ask Tennessee. They just went on the
Yeah.
road and got destroyed by Florida, and then came home and they won big time against South Carolina. I mean, where you play can shift and swing the momentum so much.
Yeah, we
So
talk
much.
about South Carolina last year. They, beating Tennessee and Clemson. They knocked 2 teams out of the playoff last year.
Yeah,
Both those teams would have probably most likely
they'd have
been in the
had
playoff.
an argument for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But that one loss, and anyway. So I think that was a revenge game for Tennessee, and you played in Knoxville, 8,000 screaming East Tennessee, 1-2 bandits up there. No, I'm just playing. I love my Tennessee folks. But anyway, yeah, that was. I think that was a revenge game, and congratulations to Tennessee for the win. Joe Milton, he could throw the ball a country mile, but he's not always the most accurate. pass in the world.
That's a kind way of putting it.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple more. We may jump into some more. We got plenty of time here. Just want to remind you guys that this is the XL Sports College Football Drive at 5, XL Sports Network College Football Drive at 5. We're coming to you live from the David Venable Studios in downtown Hawkinsville, and brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville, where every Sunday is Thanksgiving, and every day has a great lunch buffet. Come down and check us out at the 341 Bypass. Tell them that you heard it on the XL Sports Network and the College Football Drive at 5. Let's talk about the upset of the week. Ole Miss and LSU. What an amazing game! We were at a concert.
Crazy
and,
game.
You know, you were sending out stuff in the group text, and I was like, I can't. Concert wasn't very good. I'm not gonna say who we went to see, but it wasn't very good. So I was on my phone watching not watching the game, but just kind of keeping up with the stats and seeing what was going on. So Jackson Dart, 26 for 39, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, and my man Quinshon Judkins, 177 yards. He
Finally made an appearance.
He finally made an appearance this year. There was a big hit with Jaden Daniels. You'll see it right here on this play. We're gonna load that up on here. You'll see the big hit on Jaden Daniels there. The LSU defense gave up 706 yards. Let me say that again. 6 yards.
Stupid.
This is an SEC defense giving up 706 yards. Now, you got a guy who preseason in Harold Perkins Jr. was in the talk for the Heisman Trophy. They said that he's probably the best defensive player in the nation. And now I'm gonna tell you, you can go back and you can listen to this show and early in the season or during the off season. And one thing that I said was that now I'm just full disclosure. I did pick LSU to win the West.
I did too.
I did. I picked LSU
I
to
did
win
too.
the West. But I did say they're vulnerable in that defensive backfield. They were unknown in that defensive backfield. Well, 706 yards of offense that they gave up. That was huge. And let's see. And the passing, they gave up 389 yards passing. They gave up 317 yards rushing. That is not supposed to happen to LSU. What you say?
Well, I'm with you. I picked LSU to win the West going into the season, but that is because I expect that defense to be pretty good. Because, I mean, they have some talent for sure. It's just they haven't showed up. I mean, show me one game besides Grambling State where they played good defense. You can't. It doesn't exist. They gave up over 40 to FSU. They almost lost to Arkansas. They played good against Mississippi State, yes, but we're finding out now that Mississippi State, again, like I feared they would be, isn't a very good football team.
Right.
The last 2 games they played have been a close win against Arkansas. They won by 3, so they go with 30 points. And then a 6-point loss to Ole Miss, and they go with 50 points. It's just that defense does not look like what I expected it to at all.
So, on top of 706 yards of offense that Ole Miss generated, they also had 11 penalties.
Yes.
11 penalties.
I noticed that too, and I think they would have won sooner and won by more if they hadn't had those 11 penalties.
Yeah, it was.
Because of what, 121 yards?
That's what I'm looking up right now.
Something crazy like that.
Yeah, it was a lot. 11 penalties, and when's the last time you heard of a team having 11 penalties and 706 yards of offense? I mean, that's just insane.
Wild.
Yeah, it is insane. And I'll tell you right now, I'm looking it up what the yardage was on that. If I can find it.
My take on the game was I'm pretty sure I saw Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly walk out to midfield before the game, shake hands, and say, "Hey, let's play zero defense today," because that's what it looked like.
Let's act like we're in the Big 12.
It was it was the exact opposite of Notre Dame Duke. Notre Dame Duke was a defensive grinded out. Whoever has the ball last may win the game. This one was first one to 100 is going to win the game. It was funny because I said they were racing to 50, and turns out the first one they got to 50 actually won the game.
All right.
It was fantastic game for both offenses, but again, it felt kind of like that I want to say West Virginia Baylor game a few years ago. The final was like 70-63.
Yeah.
And they asked the team captain, the defensive captain, I think it was Baylor that ended up winning. Excuse me. They asked him. He said, "How do you feel?" He said, "Man, it don't feel like a win."
Yeah.
And I gotta agree. If I'm playing on that Ole Miss defense, it don't feel like a win.
Right. Yeah.
You're glad you did win, but it don't feel like a win.
121 yards of penalties.
Yeah.
Now,
And then,
those
like
all,
you said,
they're not all in offense, but
but still.
Yeah.
Like I said, both offenses played great. They both teams averaged 10 yards a pass and 5 yards a carry. That is stupid.
That is insane. It really
Crazy.
is.
Jaden Daniels and Jackson Dart both played great games. Like we said, Quinshon Judkins finally showed up and he played really well.
He did.
One of the biggest takeaways for me is just, man, LSU has been disappointing. We kind of touched on it. Their defense has not performed nearly as well as I thought they would. But I know I've been down on Ole Miss. I've been hard on them, but I'm a little more optimistic, especially after gutting out that win. And I think a win versus Arkansas this week would do a lot for their confidence and my confidence in them too. So if they can carry this momentum, I think they're going to be looking good going forward.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to be able to pull the West out. I really don't.
Probably not, but you never know. I think it's
You
wide
never
open.
know.
this
They
year.
only got one loss down. Alabama's have to have 2 losses. And
Yeah.
I think Alabama may have 2 conference losses coming up.
We'll see.
I think A&M may have something to say about what's going to happen out there. I just think the West is right now. It looks to me like it's just wide open right now. It really is.
Absolutely.
It really is. All right, so we may get into a couple more games, but let's go ahead and talk about the Georgia-Auburn game. Since
Let's do
we've
it.
both been drooling over that. I'll let you start off, and I'll jump in when I can.
Well, I've been dying to get it off my chest since Saturday. We kind of talked about this on the ride in. So a lot of the discussion this week has been about Georgia's run defense and how bad they looked. I disagree. Week 1, they gave up 134 yards to UT Martin. Nobody cared. The next 3 weeks, they proceeded to give up less than 100 yards to their opponents, and no one was worried about it. I think a lot of what's been thrown around this week is that yards per carry stat. That carries very little weight with me because if someone rushes the ball twice and they happen to get 20 yards on those runs, they're averaging 10 yards a carry.
Yeah, what's
That's
going on?
great.
Oh my goodness, they're gonna be terrible.
So if you look at the numbers, Georgia gave up 219 yards on 43 carries, which is 5.1 yards a carry. That's not great. However, in the first quarter, we all know Peyton Thorne broke off that 61-yard run. If you take out that one single run from the game, Auburn went 158 yards on 42 carries, and that's 3.8 yards a carry.
Right.
You can live with that.
Yeah.
That one single run, that one single play inflates that number so much. And to me, a lot of it, too, was sort of, like a volume shooter in basketball. You shoot the ball a lot, you're going to score points. You run the ball a lot, you're going to get rushing yards. And, I mean, they had to run it because we know they dang sure couldn't throw it.
Right.
When Peyton Thorne tried, he threw an interception.
Yeah.
And I say it and I stand by it. Those 2 turnovers that Georgia had, that is the only reason Auburn had a pulse in that game.
Exactly.
If you take away those 2 turnovers, my prediction for the game was 38-6. If you take out those 2 turnovers, that's probably closer to what the game ends up being.
Yeah.
Kirby said this in one of his press conferences. On the road at Jordan Hare with a quarterback who has never started on the road before. 0 pre-snap penalties.
That's amazing.
That is insane.
That's that. First of all, it's preparation.
Absolutely.
They're turning their speakers up inside when they were practicing, so that's great preparation on their part. But you know what? The cadence. I mean, a kid that's okay. So what? He's been in the program for 4 years. But you know what? Being in the program doesn't. You can't. There's no simulation for what he had to go through at Jordan Hare.
Absolutely.
No simulation. You can't simulate that in practice. You can't simulate that anywhere except in game time experience. And man, I thought he stepped up. Anybody out there in the Bulldog Nation, or anybody out there in the Dog Nation that wants to jump on Carson Beck, and I'll be honest, I wasn't really sure when the season started that he was really the guy. I still go back to that UAB game, 2 years ago when he threw that pick six and just watched the guy run down the field. But I have to get over that, because I think the kid is ultra talented. I think that he is. The arm angles he showed the other day in that game, I saw one that he threw Brock Bowers that he just came sidearm with it and threw a laser right there, perfect strike. Yeah, he's talented. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to get to that next. Like I said, Carson Beck is playing fantastic. Argue with the wall, come fight me. I think he is a good quarterback this year. He threw that interception, sure did, and the team went down 10-0, and he did not blink. He came right back and he led the team to a victory. Because that's exactly what he did. Him and Brock Bowers, they led that team to a victory. We talked about this too. Georgia went 8 of I think 13 on third downs. Carson Beck was 8 of 10 passing on third downs. Every single third down Georgia converted came off of his hand.
Yeah.
And I mean, in the second half and specifically the fourth quarter, Brock Bowers just proved why he's one of the greatest players I've ever seen touch a football field.
Amazing.
He's amazing. I mean, as long as we got 19, we're gonna be fine. I feel really good. It's gonna sound weird, but I feel really good about that game coming home to play Kentucky.
So yeah, so let's. I got a lot of things I want to say about this. And first of all, Brock Bowers, and I've said this to you. You've heard this story before, Ken. I don't know if you have or not, but the audience, you guys have probably never heard this. In 2021, my wife and I took my son and his best friend from high school, their parents, to Atlanta to watch Army play against Georgia State.
Mm-hmm.
Chaz's best friend played for Army, so we went there to watch that game. It was a noon kickoff. And then on the way back, we were on the way back around 5 o'clock or so, and Georgia played Clemson that night and the 7:30 kickoff. Remember that?
In Charlotte.
A great game. On the way back, we're talking football. And I told them, I said, hey guys, I said, the world's about to find out who Brock Bowers is.
Sure did. I remember that.
And not a truer thing has ever come out of my mouth, because that guy is insanely amazing. He should have been the Mackey Award winner his freshman year. I think they should have given it. They didn't give it to him as a freshman. Obviously, last year won it. He's going to win it again this year. He may hopefully have 1,000 yards receiving this year. I hope. The guy is just incredible. And Will and I were talking about this before. When he gets the ball across the middle and those safeties take the angle and they're like, okay, I'm going to get this guy. And he puts that thing into another gear. 6'3", 245 pounds, and runs a 4.5 40, but he's faster than that.
I've never seen anything like it.
It's amazing. How can a safety that runs a 4.3, sometimes 4.2, whatever they run, how can they not take the right angle on this guy? And it's just, it looks like it looks like he's running slow, but my goodness, nobody can catch him. Nobody can catch him. And what I love about the guy, man, is he's so humble. He doesn't talk about himself. If you look at him, he don't even like talking. The guy's the introvert,
I think the best thing about him, too, is he's so even-keeled and poised. Like, at the beginning of the game, Carson Beck threw him 2 balls that if he caught would have been touchdowns. I think one of them you can kind of call it a drop. One of them was just a great defensive play. Both times, man, popped right back up, ran back to the huddle. He said, you can't get that guy down.
Right.
It's impossible.
Yeah. And one end of catch he had there in the fourth quarter was incredible. He had 157 yards receiving.
Something like that.
He had one catch that was called back because the wide receiver or the slot guy lined up on the line and covered him up, and he probably should have had the awareness to say, "Hey, back up off the ball." But
things happen.
But 8 receptions, 158 yards, and a touchdown. Like I said, it could have been 175 yards or more had that other catch been held up. Third downs, like you said, Georgia was 8 for 13. Auburn was 2 for 12. And Auburn was 1 for 3 on fourth downs. So, we hear this stuff about the Georgia defense not being as good. Well, first of all, that 2021 defense was a historic defense. And you take Adam Anderson out from the legal troubles he's had, and you put him in the draft, he's a first-round draft pick. I think, and I may be wrong about this, but I'm almost certain that 12 players off that 2021 defense are playing NFL football. They were drafted. I think there were 12 draft picks off that 11 men. One of them was a third-round draft pick and wasn't even a starter. Never started a game at Georgia and got picked in the third round by the Dolphins. Insane. And then you had the guys that were picked last year. There was 12 guys, and Adam Anderson would have been 13. When you lose that kind of talent on that side of the football, of course you're going to have some sort of, step down. I mean, it's just natural. I do like what Georgia's done in the recruiting as far as the defensive line goes. I think they got some linebackers that are just guys. I'm telling you, if you just stick around and watch these guys, man, they've got a linebacker core that's just going to be insanely amazing. And I think they got some front seven guys or some front 4 or 5 guys that are really going to be good too. So not concerned. I'm not concerned at all about the defense. They held Auburn to 2 for 12 on third down, which is really good in the SEC on the road. That's really good. And so I'm not really too concerned about them. So anyway, let's see. Let's go ahead and fun facts for you, Will. The SEC East has 5 teams that are undefeated, and 2 of them play each other this week: Georgia and Kentucky.
That's pretty crazy.
Another fun fact: Michigan's defense has not had an opponent snap the ball inside the 10-yard line all year. They've not had a first and goal all year against them. That Michigan defense.
That's nuts.
That's nuts. Yep. All right, we're going to go into week. You got anything else about Georgia Auburn?
That's it.
All right, let's go ahead and do week 6 preview. Let's talk about LSU and Missouri. I'll let you touch on it.
So if I told you that Mizzou is playing a game where they're playing a ranked team at home with a small spread, am I talking about LSU or K-State a few weeks ago?
Probably K-State.
That's the exact same game we're in right now. They're playing at home against a ranked team, and the spread is 4 last time I checked.
Wow.
It's like I've seen this movie before. Mizzou, I don't think they're elite. I don't think they're a title contender, but they're a darn good team, and I think they're underrated. They're going to be a tough out for anybody, and that includes Georgia. I mean, when they play them again in a few weeks, that's going to be a real tough game.
Yep.
I think Luther Burden has been outstanding. I think he's going to stay hot this week. And just go ahead. I'll list off Brady Cook's stats and tell me where you can find a fault. So he's 74%, 1,468 yards, 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
That's amazing.
What's wrong with Brady Cook? Nothing. He plays great. He's a great quarterback.
He can run the ball too.
He sure can.
He can run the ball. He's a good threat.
I think he's been great. And as great as he's been, I think LSU's defense has been just that bad. I mean, we talked about it with all the yards they gave up to Ole Miss. They're giving up 31 points a game. That's an SEC defense giving up 31 points a game. That's LSU. And Jaden Daniels, he may play a great game this week, but he's played great the last 2 weeks, and those have been close again, including that 3-point win against Arkansas at home, and that 6-point loss. I think this one is probably gonna be a close game too. And then a close game, man. I'm gonna roll with the home team and the thicker kicker. I'm picking Mizzou to beat LSU.
I'm picking Missouri to win as well.
Boom.
I just think that, like you said, that LSU defense is just, and the defensive backfield, they're struggling back there. And Luther Burton is lighting it up. He's lighting it up.
Proving why he was so highly recruited.
Exactly. Golly, man, he should have came to it. But you know what? I'm glad we got his counterpart.
We gotta love it.
Man. We got him. Let's go Maryland and Ohio State. That's going to be a good one too. What you think?
That's an interesting game. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I think Maryland's got the best quarterback in the Big Ten. And yes, you can clip it, tell them I said it. I don't care. Whatever. Baby Tua is what I call him, but Taulia, he's playing fantastic. That Maryland team looks pretty good. This is going to be a sneaky game for Ohio State.
Before you pick, Ohio State's favored by 20.
Okay, I'm not picking Maryland. Spoiler alert, I'm picking Ohio State. But they need to come ready, because if they come in this game half-stepping, the last time they played was that game against Notre Dame. They had a bye week last week. They better come ready to play this game. Maryland's not going to be – they're not going to lay down and just let them win the game. They're going to come up there and try and win. I think Ohio State may have answered some questions we had. I think they looked and felt good about the Notre Dame win. I'm picking Ohio State to win, but I would not be shocked if it's close late like it was last year.
I'm going to pick Ohio State to win the game. I'm going to pick Maryland to beat the spread. 20 points, 3 touchdowns.
If I'll say this, if Ohio State plays their best game, they'll cover.
Yeah, I'm picking Maryland to beat the spread. So, but I will pick Ohio State to win the game. Oklahoma, okay. Texas State Fair.
We're jumping ahead of the event of the week.
Well, hey, we can push that back if you want.
Up to you.
Well, I'll let you pick the next one.
I'll pick the next one. All
yeah,
right. Sneaky game. Washington at UCLA.
Yeah.
Sorry, Washington State
Washington
at
State.
UCLA.
Yeah,
Washington is going to run through whoever they're playing. Washington State, UCLA. They're both coming off a bye week. Last time we saw UCLA, they lost to Utah. Last time we saw Washington State, they were beating Oregon State. Since then, the two teams that they play each other. And I know the transitive property doesn't really work, but if we go off that logic, I think Washington State's going to win the game. I think UCLA probably has a better defense than Oregon State, but I don't know. I think it's comparable, but maybe a little better. Their defense looked really good against Utah, and I still think they're good, but I don't think it's going to matter when Cam Ward plays them. That offense is explosive. This is insane to me. Washington State is converting almost 60% of their third downs.
That's insane.
That is ridiculous. I think it's 59 and some change, but they are converting almost 60% of their third downs, averaging 45 points a game. Cam Ward is playing as well as about any other quarterback out in the country right now. I think UCLA's only hope is to try and get some pressure on him. But even if they do, he's not scared to tuck it and run. So last week I said, it's kind of funny. Last week I said if Oregon can get to 21-24, they'll win the game. This week I'm going to say if Wazoo can hold UCLA to 24 to 27 points, they'll win the game. Because they're going to put up points. As good as I think UCLA's defense is, I don't think they've been tested by an offense quite this good. So Wazoo can give up probably about 24 to 27 points and still win this game, and I think they're going to. I think the Cougars will win this one.
Yeah, I think so too. I really hope UCLA wins this game because in our pick'em, I got UCLA on my team. But knowing what I know here, I just Washington State. Here's Cam Ward's season stats. He's 106, 142 attempts, completed 106. That's 74.6%, almost 75% of his passes completion. 1,390 yards and 13 touchdowns. 0 interceptions. None.
Guy's good. Guy's good.
Yes. I mean, you got, between him and Michael Penix, the state of Washington's rich in quarterbacks this year. Very
Absolutely.
Rich. I think UCLA, they got that freshman quarterback who I think is going to be an absolute monster in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think he needs him the year, though.
Yeah, I saw him when he was in high school playing that All-American game. And he's amazing. But I think he's going to take his lumps this week. I think Washington State's going to win that game on the road. So I pick Washington State.
Sounds good.
Let's go Syracuse at North Carolina next.
Let's do it. Just got some great news, UNC fans. Tez Walker has eligibility to play this year. Woo! Good job.
They overturned.
They announced that earlier today, a couple hours ago.
Really?
The NCAA granted Tez Walker eligibility. He's actually eligible to play in this game.
Wow, I guess Matt Brown's plea was heard some. It should be. It really should be.
This is one of the few times the NCAA, I won't say got it right, because it's about 5. It's about 5 weeks too late, but they made the right call.
Right.
But ultimately, all that to say, I don't think it's going to matter. I think Syracuse's offense is at least as good as UNC's, but their defense is way better. I don't even think it's close. And Drake May, he's the hype he had at the end of last year and coming into this year, I don't think he's lived up to it.
No.
He's kind of living in his own shadow. He hasn't played terrible, but he hasn't been great. I mean, through 4 games, he's got 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. Terrible, but I mean, numbers are not eye-popping. Just compared to what I've seen from him, I've expected more. And it's like I said, it's been a little disappointing to me. The quarterback for Syracuse, Garrett Schrader, I think he played really well last year. He's playing pretty well this year. He has a much lower ceiling than Drake May to me, but he can make some plays with his arm and with his legs, especially against that bad UNC defense. So I'm picking Syracuse. They're going to cover, and I think they're going to win outright.
So it's funny that we were talking about Syracuse here because in the preseason I listened to some podcasts, and there was a couple of people in podcasts that picked Syracuse to play for the ACC championship. And I was like, kidding me. But right now they sit at 4-1. They're 1-1 in the conference. They lost to Clemson in a very close game actually. But I don't know about them playing for the championship. But man,
I don't think they will.
Yeah, they're doing pretty good. One thing I think, and I think you're right. Drake May has not lived up to what his preseason hype was, and I was one of the ones that was hyping him myself. I thought he was going to be one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy, and it turns out that he's not really had. I guess you call it a sophomore slump or something. I don't know, but he's redshirt sophomore slump.
I think a big part of it too is losing that OC they had.
Yeah.
I think that's a big thing that's hurt him.
So I'm going to pick just because they're at home. I'm going to pick Carolina to win this game at home, and I'm not sure what the spread is. I could look that up, but
I think last I saw was around 4.5.
I think they will cover that. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out of time in regulation, but we're going to go into an overtime period now. Overtime period is brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville, and we will continue this discussion. We got a few more games we want to discuss in overtime. And
I'm sorry, real quick. That UNC spread is UNC's favored by 9.5 right now.
9.5. Wow. I'd maybe take Syracuse to cover the spread, but I think North Carolina's win the game. Will, you won the coin toss in overtime, so you get to. You want to play or defer?
I'll defer. I'll let you pick.
You'll defer. Okay, so let's go. Staying in the ACC, let's talk about Notre Dame and Louisville. I'll start this off. Louisville's undefeated, and Notre Dame, of course, lost to Ohio State. That's the only blemish on the record, which was one of the classic games and probably looked at again years down the road as being one of the most classic games.
It's a good loss if there ever was.
Really, exactly. I think that Louisville has not played anybody yet, and I think we knew that coming into the season that they were going to have a pretty good cupcake schedule, but they are undefeated right now. I think that Notre Dame is going to be in Louisville. I think Notre Dame is going to go in there and they're going to run the ball very effectively, and I think they're just going to dominate this game. I'm going to pick Notre Dame to win, and whatever the point spread is, I think they'll cover it. I'll look it up and see. They're only favored by 6, and I think they will. I think they'll win that game and they'll cover the spread.
It's gonna be tough for Notre Dame finishing the year. I mean, right now they're playing their 3rd ranked opponent in a row, and it's going to be 4 next week when they play USC. And I think that is Louisville's only chance, their only prayer. I think across the board Notre Dame's a better team, but if Notre Dame comes out slow or sluggish, or they look a little bruised or battered after their 2 tough games against Ohio State and Duke, that, like I said, that's the only chance Louisville has. Louisville does not have a bad defense by any stretch, but it's not to the caliber, in my opinion, of Duke and Ohio State. Louisville has some athletes. Their quarterback is all right. I'm not going to give Plummer any more credit than that. He's all right. Jawar Jordan, we all know he can be dangerous if he gets loose. But again, like I said, I think Notre Dame's a better team. Sam Hartman, my guy, like I said, Estime, been on him all year. They have a fantastic offensive line, and they have a really, really good defense. Yeah. I think they're going to look to build off that momentum from that win against Duke. And like I said, Louisville has a good defense, but again, I don't think it's going to be enough to even slow Notre Dame down. I think they're going to be able to score the ball much easier this week, and I'm going to pick the Irish to win, and they may win big. But again, if they come out sluggish and slow, Louisville's got a shot, but that's their only shot.
Yeah, you talk about their schedule, and the first few games, you got Tennessee State, Navy's not on the same level as they are, obviously. NC State's down this year, Central Michigan, then you got Ohio State, Duke, Louisville, top 25 team, USC, top 10 team, top 5 team, probably in the play. Pitt's not bad, Clemson, and so they got a stretch there. They got
sure do
pretty good gauntlet. They're right in the middle of right now. So
if they finish with only 1 loss, that'll be a very, very impressive resume.
Okay. Well, you deferred, so now you get to pick the next one. What do you want to talk about now?
All right. Let's talk about A&M and Ole Miss real quick. I'm sorry, A&M and Alabama real quick.
I love it.
Got a few questions for you. What does Alabama do well on offense?
What do they do well on offense? Alabama?
Yeah.
Quarterback run?
They'll just run the ball in general. Last week against Mississippi State, they ran the ball 43 times and threw it 13.
Okay.
Another question for you. What does Texas A&M do a great job of stopping?
They do a good job of stopping the run.
They do a great job of stopping the run. How did Miami beat Texas A&M?
Went through running the ball.
Tyler Van Dyke lit them up. Like you said, wasn't by running the football. So I think this game is a matchup nightmare for Alabama. Because I think right now we find ourselves in the same spot we were a few weeks ago. It's like, hey, can Jalen Milroe win a football game by throwing the football. Because Alabama's going to run it, and they're going to hopefully have something that resembles success. But A&M, for all the criticisms of them, they have a good run defense. It's hard to run on A&M. And that's if that's what Alabama's hoping to do, they're going to have a long afternoon because that's the 3:30 kickoff on CBS.
Yeah.
And another thing, field goals ain't going to do it. Field goals ain't going to cut it for Alabama.
That's right.
And I think the path to victory is strangely similar. They're both going to say, "Hey, play great defense and force the opponent to make some mistakes." I think that's the path to victory for both teams. But when it comes down to it, I think Jalen Milroe is probably going to turn the ball over some, and I think A&M is going to have a very successful week stopping the run. So I'm picking A&M to take down the Tide. I'm picking A&M to win this game.
I'm with you on there. I'm picking A&M to win this game too, and for all the reasons that you talked about, I don't think that. First of all, they're going to be playing in Kyle Field, and that's been known as the home of the 12th man. So that's going to be a problem for them too for Alabama.
Well, if you look at it, last year Texas A&M had their same quarterback, Jalen Milroe, they were playing against. Texas A&M had one untimed down from the two to try and win this football game, and they had a horrendous play call.
Terrible call.
Since that, I think Alabama has taken a couple of steps back. And that was in Tuscaloosa. I know you can't just say, hey, this happened last year, so this is going to happen this year, but to say A&M doesn't have a chance is crazy, especially with some of the things we've seen from Alabama this year.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that. That was the worst call, I think. I mean, and they came out of a timeout on that.
And he wasn't even in the end zone, so even if the ball was caught, it's not a touchdown.
No, too right. And everybody in the world knew who was going to get the football.
Absolutely.
Evan Stewart. You talk about that A&M defense. They are averaging on defense and rushing one touchdown a game. They're averaging 4.8 yards per attempt from the offense. Their defense on rushing. They are averaging about 208 yards a game on the rush defense. So if that's what I'm looking at here, I think
it's a little lower than that. Last time I checked, it was. The number I'm seeing is 96 yards a game they're giving up on the ground.
What is this thing? Okay, I must be looking at the wrong thing here. Anyway, but that defense is certainly better. Oh, that's 2022. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, I was looking at the wrong.
That sounds about right.
That don't look right to me. Okay.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So anyway, getting to that, I think that they are absolutely upgraded from last year. I think, I told Tom Mobley, a friend of mine, Tom Mobley, loved the man. He's a big Auburn guy. Told him in church last night that I think Auburn's on the ascension. I think that Alabama's on the descent, and I think they may meet this year and cross out of the horn.
That Iron Bowl's going to be interesting for sure.
Iron Bowl is going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting this year. I think you're right. I think that Alabama is not. They've taken a downgrade from last year. I think A&M is absolutely taking an upgrade, if nothing else. And I don't like him as anybody else, But the OC they got, Bob Petrino, I think it's an upgrade from what they were before. I think Jimbo calling the plays before was a problem.
Yeah.
And I think right now you got a better play caller. I think you got a better OC. So I'm going to pick A&M to win. It's only a 1.5 point. Alabama's only favored by 1.5. So I think A&M's going to win. They're going to win probably by 6, maybe 7 points.
I'll give them a field goal.
Yeah. So, all right, we got a couple more we want to talk about. Which one you want to talk about?
Let's start with Georgia and then finish with the Red River rivalry.
Okay. All right. We'll start with Georgia. You go ahead and start us off.
Kind of digging into what we talked about a little bit earlier. I've had to listen to my dogs, my beloved dogs, get dragged all week long. And I don't think this game is going to be as simple as, Kentucky ran the ball and Georgia struggled defending the run, so Kentucky's going to give Georgia problems. Auburn ran the ball outside early and often. Kentucky runs that ball inside. Auburn used their quarterbacks in the run game. I looked it up. Peyton Thorne and Robbie Ashford combined to average 7.8 yards a carry. The running backs they had only averaged 3.5 yards a carry. Ray Davis is good, but we talked about it. When Auburn tried to run the ball up the middle, Georgia stifled them pretty well. And Devin Leary, man, he cannot run the football. I think he has negative 29 rushing yards on the season. So not too worried about a rushing threat there. Speaking of Devin Leary, I asked you this earlier. I'll ask you again. Do you have a favorite Devin Leary game this year?
No, he's 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, so he's not what I thought he was going to be coming from North Carolina State.
Me neither. I was concerned when he came. I'm like, he has a chance to do some damage. But he's played 2 decent games. And that was Akron, which is Akron, and then
Zips,
Eastern,
man.
then
130 something. Yeah.
Eastern Kentucky.
Okay.
That game was tied, or Kentucky was trailing for nearly half the game. Eastern Kentucky, the mighty Colonels. On the season, Devin Leary is 58% completion percentage. Yikes.
Yeah.
He has thrown an interception in 4 out of his first 5 games.
Wow.
Georgia's defense has 8 interceptions this year. If Lord help them with the football. They better be able to run it, because if they try and throw it, I'm not scared one bit.
This is a very physical matchup. It's always a physical game, and we talked about that earlier in the show. With Mark Stoops. Mark Stoops is just all his teams are physical. But I think this game right here, if you're going to try to out physical Georgia, I think you're making a mistake. I don't think they're going to be able to throw the ball. I don't think you're right about that.
Lord help them if Ray Davis can't run the football.
Exactly.
And I was getting to this too. I've talked a lot about third down conversions this weekend, because it's something that I think is important. So Kentucky has converted 44% of their third down conversions, not bad, but their defense has given up 43%, not great. Georgia's numbers shocked me when I saw it. Georgia's converting 55% of their third downs.
Wow.
Their defense is giving up less than 25%.
And if you look at that, if you just take that and you put those 2 stats between Kentucky's success and Georgia's success, put those together, or Kentucky's lack of success. There's a big difference in who Kentucky's played so far and what they're going to play this Saturday.
Absolutely.
And they're also playing a 7:30 kickoff, and that place is going to be electric.
For sure.
It's going to be electric. You're going to have 93 screaming, half drunk dog fans out there that are going to be on top of it. So I picked Georgia to win this game. Spread's 14. I think they're going to win the game and cover the spread.
Final thoughts I had there. Kentucky, that secondary can be had. Outsiders and Georgia fans are like, yes, if you hear me, I'm talking about you. They're hating on Carson Beck. But I think he's playing pretty well, especially these past 2 games. He's completing around 70% of his passes and throwing for over 300 yards. I can live with that. I think he's finally hitting his stride and having good rhythm and timing with his receivers. The biggest thing really is, who on Kentucky is stopping 19? Who's stopping 19?
I don't think there's anybody in the country.
The answer is nobody.
No.
And kind of the last point, it's kind of been the thing that's been frustrating me all week. But when I look back at it and think I'm so happy and grateful for it, a message to everyone from the bottom of my heart. I mean this, I do. If you've been trashing, hating, or doubting Georgia this past week, thank you. Last year, they were the most disrespected national champions in history. This year, they are the most disrespected back-to-back national champions in history. It's impossible to be complacent when no one thinks you're any good, when people are constantly questioning you and doubting you. It's impossible to eat that rat poison when no one's offering it to you. So again, I thank you for that, especially those in the media who've been giving that to them. Because Kirby's been ringing that in their ears all week long. He's just giving them ammunition. Bulletin board material just abounds. These boys are going to come out hungry and pissed off, and I think the Dogs are going to win. And I think the Dogs are going to cover. They're going to win big time.
Carson Beck is averaging right at 300 yards a game passing. He has seven touchdowns and 2 interceptions. We talked about the interception that he had in the Auburn game. He threw that ball up there for his playmaker to make a play, and his playmaker didn't make a play. In fact, the guy who did make the play was leading the conference in interceptions. So that's just one of those. Hey, I would rather him do that than make some other crazy mistakes that we've seen other people make in the past. 72% completion, almost 1,500 yards. I think that you'll see those numbers go up from here on. I think they're going to probably, just because of where we are on the schedule and where we are as far as the health of the team goes. I think getting Lab back is going to be huge.
Oh, for sure.
I think they're going to stretch the field with hopefully Arian And man, Brock Bowers, man, just get on my back and I'll lead you to the promised land. I tell you, this guy is insanely great. I expect this week to be a big statement from Kirby and the team. You know, you hear all this junk about about struggles here, struggles there, defensively, offensively, and we talked about it today. And I just don't. I'm not concerned as a Georgia fan. I'm not concerned.
Not one bit.
Not concerned at all. All right, we're still in overtime. We're in the last couple minutes of overtime. About to get out of here in a minute, but we got one more game we're going to talk about. And this last game is
the main event,
brought to you by the Steakhouse Restaurant in Hawkinsville, where every Sunday is Thanksgiving. And we're live from the David Venable Studios.
Let's coin this the final drive.
This is the final drive, like Ken says.
I like it.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Please hit that subscribe button and hit the like button. Leave us some comments. Tell us what you think. This is the XL Sports Network.net. Listen to us any live button. You can listen to us there. Will, I'll let you start us off. Oklahoma and Texas. It's not Oklahoma at Texas. It's not Texas at Oklahoma. It's the Texas State Fair, supposedly a neutral site.
Playing in Dallas.
Playing in Dallas. It's totally neutral. Really, there's only about 3 or 4 hours between those two cities anyway. But go ahead. I'll let you start off.
Yeah, the Red River Showdown, Red River Rivalry, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the best rivalries in college football, and I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. Again, I think the main event, the main course, the entree of the weekend here, it's a big rivalry game. It has potential implications for the Big 12 title game, which is the final opportunity for either one of these teams to win it. And it may be a sneak peek to that Big 12 title game.
Right.
And obviously playoff hopes are on the line. A win by Oklahoma skyrockets them into series contention. I think people right now they have their eyes open for Oklahoma, but I don't think anybody seriously respects them or thinks they're going to make a push. If they win on Saturday, I mean they're jumping inside the top 6, top 5. They have to. And a win for Texas, I mean that solidifies their spot in the top 3, top 2, top 1, depending on where you have them. I know a lot of people in their own personal rankings elevated Texas to number 1 or number 2, whatever, however you want to look at Michigan, right. Texas, Georgia. They're a top 3 team, and I don't think that's up for debate. Texas, they win this game. Like I said, they solidify that spot. They clear their largest hurdle remaining to a playoff berth. And I think the most important thing, they earn my respect. I said last week that in order for me to believe in Texas, they need a convincing win against Kansas, and they have to impress me against Oklahoma. They got that convincing win against Kansas. Yeah, they did that, so check mark there. So a win against Oklahoma, that'll go a long way for me believing that Texas is back. It's kind of weird to me looking at this game though, because it's going to be two great defenses. I feel like the world's upside down. We just talked about two SEC teams not playing any defense at all, and this weekend we're talking about two Big 12 teams that may be in a defensive slugfest. So we'll see how that's going to end. But I mean, if you look at any metric, these are two really good defenses. I think Texas's defense is probably a little better than Oklahoma's, but we'll see. And just for, I guess, comparison purposes, we'll just call it a wash. So there's two big things I'm looking at for this game. One, the opponents they've played. I think Oklahoma's toughest tests have been SMU and Cincinnati. And when you look at that, their scoring goes way down when they played those two teams. Because, I mean, they put up, 70 against Arkansas State? And then I think 60-something in the next game they played. And they put up 50 against Iowa State. So their scoring comes way down against these, we'll call them, better teams. And the other thing I gotta look at is offensive playmakers. I really like Dylan Gabriel. I really like the guys he throws the ball to. But, man, when you just look at it, I think Texas is better all the way around across the board. I think Quinn Ewers is really come into his own, staying healthy, playing well. We just talked about Jonathan Brooks earlier. I think he's outstanding. And don't forget about Cedric Baxter. I mean, he was the guy for them in the backfield for Texas coming into the season. But Jonathan Brooks has really come on. And we talked about the receivers. A.D. Mitchell and Xavier Worthy.
Seven touchdowns between the two of them. Yeah.
Those guys are just,
Yeah.
you can't cover both of them. It's
Right.
not possible. I really do like this OU team. I like Brent Venables. I want to pick them with all my heart, but I can't. I think Texas is going to win, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's a close one, and I also wouldn't be shocked if Texas blows them out again. So I'm picking Texas. I don't know what the spread's going to be, but I think the Longhorns take this game.
If I remember this right, it was 49-0 last year.
It was indeed.
So I don't think that. I think Texas is better, but I think Oklahoma's a lot better than 49-0.
100%.
So I don't think there's going to be. I think that. I'll tell you what I think the spread is going to be, or what I think it's going to be in a minute. But you're talking about Dylan Gabriel, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, almost 1,600 yards.
He's played well.
Passing, over 75% completion percentage. Then you look at Quinn Ewers. I think Quinn Ewers is just, man, I think he's living up to that #1 player in the country hype that he had coming out of high school, or whatever he was. I think he was the #1 player in the class that he was supposed to, and he graduated a year early and came to Ohio State a year early, but definitely living up to 58 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, and 1 interception. And like you talk about Xavier Worthy and A.D. Mitchell, 2 of the great pass catchers in college football right now. Jonathan Brooks has 597 yards rushing in 5 games. He's averaging 520 yards. I'm sorry, about 120 yards a game rushing. That's
good.
That's really good.
He's
really good. Look at the rushing for Oklahoma. Their top rushing running back. He has 199 yards in 4 games. So certainly not as much. Go ahead, what were you saying?
That Oklahoma rushing defense is pretty good. It's one of the tops in the country. Another kind of fun fact I had for you, like I said, I was heavy on third down conversion percentage this episode, but again, I think it's noteworthy. There are 2 teams in the country that are top 10 in converting third downs and top 10 in, I guess, third down defense. You want to know who those 2 teams are?
I'm just going to say Michigan and Texas. I don't know.
They are the University of Georgia Bulldogs
Really?
and the Oklahoma Sooners.
Wow.
So if you want a team that converts on third down and stops the defense, Georgia and Oklahoma do it. I think that is Oklahoma's way to win the ballgame. They have a good rushing defense. Keep doing that and get Texas off the field on third down. That's how they have to do it. Side note thing on Quinn Ewers. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but at one point he was enrolled at the Ohio State University.
He was on there. Yeah.
What they wouldn't give to have him as their quarterback.
He didn't want to wait for CJ.
He did not. But think about if they had him this year instead of Kyle McCord. They'd be pretty scary.
Oh man, they would be. They would really be scary. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and pick Texas in this game too. I think that I think they're just a better team, top to bottom. 5-point favorite. I think they'll beat that spread. I think it's not gonna be a 49-point spread, but I think they'll cover the spread. Probably they'll probably win by 7 to 10 points. So. But that's gonna do it for today. On the XL Sports Network College Football Drive at 5. You listen to us. We're in the overtime period. Time just ran out on us. The game is over. The show is over, and we have surpassed our allotment of time here. Really want to appreciate Ken on the boards.
Absolutely, thank you, Ken.
From the David Venable Studios in Hawkinsville. For Will Nobles, this is Chuck. We're going to say see you guys next Thursday. You'll have a great weekend.